Hi guys, it's Emily from Novelle Novels and welcome to today's video. This is the Deja Vu reread tag. Now this will be a short tag, as you'll obviously see from the length, because I don't reread very often. I was tagged by the lovely Nikki from Reread, who is a great friend of mine. And I am going to be honest with you, I'm starting to reread a lot more now, but a lot of these answers are going to be very similar to each other because I don't read much. Now I will link the prompts, all the written prompts and everything. I will link Nikki's channel because she's been kind enough to write the prompts down. So if I tag you in it, that's where to go to find out the prompts. And Nikki's a great person, so I want you to check out her channel anyway. I will try and talk slowly, so if you don't want to necessarily go and check out the other video, you can listen to what I've said. I'm not making any sense today, guys. Sorry, I'm very tired. So, anyway, let's get on with it. Let me talk about the prompts. So, prompt number 1. Do you reread, and if so, how often? I'm starting to reread. I never used to because I've got limited time, and something you'll learn from looking at all my wrap-ups is I'm reading a bit less at the moment. So I never used to reread, but one of the things that happened last year, at the end of last year, was I had a chat with both my sister and Nick and Gemma from Read a Book Gem, and we all sort of said it would be good to reread. So I'm now starting to really think about the books that I would want to read again, because I'm finding now that when you reread books, you can get a bit more out of them. So every month this year, I will be rereading at least one book. Now, obviously, I've got my Anne of Green Gables series, which I'm rereading as well at the moment, and that's going to be ongoing. I'm also going to be reading Charlie from Charlie Goat's Doris books, but I'm going to start to reread at least one other book a month. And Swoop's decided she's going to join us in this video. So I am going to be rereading at least one other book a month. There you go, sorry about this. And so prompt number 2, what do you or don't you reread? I do reread classics and thrillers. Not very often contemporaries, but classics and thrillers I'm starting. Not thrillers. Classics and fantasy I'm starting to reread, because I think with fantasy, you need to get into the details of it. So I think I'm starting to read that. I certainly love reading my classics. You do not want my cat's face bombing your face. She's settling down on me. What I don't reread is thrillers, because the whole point of thrillers is you want to get the twist of them. So you want to really get to the best of it. I think when you see what happens in a thriller, the whole point of a thriller is to not to be expecting things. And obviously if you reread it, you'll already know. So I don't ever reread thrillers. I don't tend to read non-fiction very much, but I think autobiographies and stuff I will reread. But yeah, they're what I don't read. Prompt number 3, what have been your favourite books to reread? Obviously, the Brontes. I love the Brontes. So, my 2 favourite books to reread are Jane Eyre, which I'm rereading this month. As this video goes live, I would have already reread it or been halfway through it. Love Jane Eyre. And obviously my favourite book of all time, Wuthering Heights, which I blimmin' adore. So, I will always reread these. I'm just looking, was this a gift note? No, I bought this myself, didn't I? So yeah, those 2 books I will always reread. Literally adore them both. 2 of my favourite books ever. Now, prompt number 4. What book do you predict will be so good that you'll want to reread it? Sneaky peek to March's TBR. And obviously you would have seen it in my book haul, Malibu Rising. I loved The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I'm certainly planning that is going to be one of the ones I will be rereading this year. And yeah, I really think that this one's got potential. It's about a series, I think it's about siblings. So, siblings books, Taylor Jenkins Reid, gonna love it. Know that I will want to reread it. I won't reread it the same year I buy it, but I will probably want to reread it. Number 5, pick a book from your younger years that will be interesting to reread. Now, I've read a lot of the books that I read when I was younger. So I've read, obviously, the Mallory Towers books last year. Last year or the year before. I've read a lot of the Enid Blyton books, but one Enid Blyton book, which is another sneaky peek to February's TBR, is St Clair's. And it's got the first year, 3 books in one. So The Twins at St Clair's. I loved reading this when I was growing up. I loved the boarding school books. I loved this books. I really loved the boarding school books. So this one is 3 books in one. It's join the twins in their first exciting year at the best school ever, St Clair's. Pat and Isabel are going to a new school, but will they like it, and will others like them? They needn't have worried. There are teachers to play tricks on, sports matches to win, friends to be made, and Pat and Isabel are going to have so much fun. So this is the first 3 terms at St Clair's. I think there's more books that I can read in this series, but this book I found in one of my local charity shops. It's a big book. It's got it's a big book. It'll be a nice, fun middle grade to get on with. And I think it will be a great place to go back to home and remind me of my childhood. So I'm looking forward to rereading that. Prompt number 6. What's a series of books that was so big or complex you'll need to reread to better understand? I don't like big series in general. There are a couple, I'll be honest, there's actually a couple of answers for this. But then, since when do I ever give only one answer per prompt? The first series that I actually thought of, my actual go-to answer that I'd changed my mind about, was actually the Lunar Chronicles. Because there are characters in that I would like to revisit and I'd like to read again, because I swear there's bits I missed. You know how much of a fast reader I am. I said this to my sister. I can easily miss bits. So I think that's a longer series with bigger books that I think next year I might reread. But another series of books that I read last year, I think it's last year, this is a book I read the year before last. God, I'm catching up. Northern Lights. I didn't think I'd like this series, but I thoroughly loved it. So I read that in 2020, and I'm definitely needing to reread this series because there are certain complex things and certain characters and twists that I didn't expect to love, but I did love. So I'm definitely going to think I think it's more like with fantasy that you're worried you miss things, and if you miss certain twists, you really want to get it back into it. So I think that's the element I'm really getting to enjoy my fantasy. So I thought that would be a good answer for that. So now we're going to go on to prompt number 7. What specific type of genre is best or worst to reread? For reread potential. Best reread potential, like I said, classics. Because with classics, you can really, really get into it. You can really find out more, and there's so much. The writing, you really need to read over and over again. And something I've found is I love rereading classics because I get a lot more out of them when I reread them. I can really get into the things. I don't know if I would like the mystery classics, but I think like the good old classics like the Jane, the Brontes, Jane Austen, I think is a brilliant one, which is kind of giving you a link to the next answer. And her books, the more you read them, the more you can get into them. There's certain books I need to reread, like I need to reread Northanger Abbey to get more, see if I can get more out of that, because I didn't get that much out of that last time. And there's other books, so I really do want to reread more of those. And they have a lot more potential because there's a lot more you can miss and a lot more you can grow, and they're longer. And the more you understand certain authors' writing, the more you'll get you'll get certain different things out of it. I've actually got a different answer. I wrote down that the thrillers would be not very good for a reread, but actually I've just thought some of the romances in the contemporaries might not be good to reread because you already know who the couple are going to end up with. So it's like the standard love triangle, romancy kind of contemporary books I don't think would be great for a reread because you know who they're going to end up with. There's not many contemporaries I've actually saved because I read loads of them. I don't need to use my time up to get that, and would I get more out of it on a reread? And then that's for me, I think the prime thing is, what would you get out of a reread? Would you, knowing who they end up with, would that be beneficial for a reread or not? So that's a good one. Romance on contemporaries. Other contemporary sides could be good, but no, romance side, maybe not as well. Right, prompt number 8. Name a book you liked more or less / less on a reread. So more was Persuasion by Jane Austen. I hated this the first time I read it. Absolutely blooming hated it. It was like 2 stars, didn't like it at all. Then I reread it, and I think I rated it like 4 or 5 stars. I think it's still only 4 stars. It wasn't one of my favourite Jane Austen books, but I certainly got a lot more out of it because I understood Jane Austen's writing more. I understood her style, and I found that I got a lot more out of it on reread. And it's certainly one I could reread again. Book I got less out on reread was Alice in Wonderland. God, I loved it as a child. Sorry, I'm just good old Fitbit. I loved it as a child, but as an adult, didn't like it as much. Really wasn't for me. Wasn't my sort of style, and I just did not like it the second time I read it. As a grown up, I've saved it for Mia, just in case Mia ever wants to read it, and it's because it's like a childhood classic, but I didn't like it at all. Like I said, this is going to be a short video. We're already on the penultimate prompt. Prompt number 9, name a book you would like to reread before the end of the year. A sneaky peek to probably March or April. I'm not sure whether it's going to go in March or April, because I'm trying to decide between this and another book. But yeah, Black Flamingo by Dean Hatter. I love this book. I read it. I had my sister gave me a copy of this, so it's not going to catch. So, and she originally lent me a copy of this, and I absolutely frigging loved it. But I think it's one. Then Charlie gave me a copy. My friend Charlie gave me a copy, so I'm definitely going to like this. This is about not being ready. It's not even about being fierce or fearless. It's about being free. And I think that was something I loved about this book. I could rave about this book. It's one of my, it was such a great book to read last year or the year before. This is Michael's story. Join him as he enters the world of tiny feather eyelashes, travel from school to college when he discovers his flock and comes to terms with his identity as a mixed-race gay teen. At university, take a seat at in the audience and watch him find his wings as a drag artist, the Black Flamingo. Absolutely love this book. Cannot wait to reread it, and definitely will be rereading it this year. So lastly, tag people. I've checked with 2 of these people about tagging them. There is no rush for them to do it. I know a lot of people have loads of tags to do. I've got spaces now for March and at the end of, still trying to decide about the end of February, but March I've got rooms to do tags, so if you want to tag me, feel free. But the people I'm going to tag are Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. She is an amazing character and a true friend. Gemma not from Read a Book Gem. Although Gemma, if you want to do it as well, brilliant. But this is Gem from Gemma Books. 2 blooming Gemmas, it gets bloody confusing. Then Shelley from Shelley Swearington. Person I'm newish to be watching, but I think she does a lot of tag videos, so she would be quite good. And then lastly, Jack from Spread Book Joy. I don't think you've done it, Jack, but if you haven't, I'd love to know your answers. All of these people, I would love to know their answers. So, yes, feel free to do it. Don't stress if you don't. Any else who wants to do it and tell me that tell you, tag me in it and let me know that you've done it. Like I said, I'm not great on rereads, but I'm certainly going to be working on it this year. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.